This summer, Portland Spirit is offering daily opportunities to experience our beautiful city on a boat, which if you haven't done, you gotta do. There are sunset dinner cruises every day at 7 p.m., daily lunch rides, and Sunday brunch with bottomless mimosas and no lines. You can also kick back on a happy hour cruise, which we've done as a team and it was a total delight, or crank up the excitement with a jet boat ride to the Columbia River Gorge. For all details and to book your adventure, head over to portlandspirit.com. That's portlandspirit.com. Now that the weather is amazing, you can go explore our bridges and the bike-friendly paths of Portland's 5 inner districts on Biketown e-bikes or scooters. One great ride is the Steel Bridge to the Hawthorne Bridge, a scenic 3-mile loop that has you riding right along the waterfront on a cool floating path. You can check the Lyft app to find a bike near you, and new riders can use code CityCast25 for a free unlock. The process is easy, just pick out a bike and use the Lyft app to scan its QR code, but please wear a helmet.
Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking about Portland Public Schools' plan for incoming K-12 campus seismic upgrades, a new $900,000 fence to prevent homeless camping near I-405, millions of wildfire recovery dollars the state's failed to spend, and so much more, because we're bringing you 5 headlines in under 5 minutes. Plus, we're also diving into our mailbag and hearing from you, our listeners. Joining me on this midweek roundup is our very own host, Claudia Meza. It's Wednesday, June 11th. I'm senior producer, Giulia Fiaoni, and this is what Portland's talking about.
Giulia, thanks for joining me this morning.
Hello.
I gotta tell you, the national news has been bringing me down like only it can, so I purposefully tried to find at least 2 things that made me feel better about the world and the news today. And here's what I found, guys. 1, the Oregon legislature passed a law to remove medical debt from credit reports. We're joining 9 other states in the U.S. that have done the same, so that was nice to hear.
Yeah.
And 2, the James Beard Public Market has sponsored a strawberry shortcake week that started on Monday, which is so cute, and is going through the 15th. So there's 40 restaurants in our area and out to the coast offering their take on the most delicious dessert, in my opinion, that the summer brings. Also, backed by popular demand, Giulia and I have decided to share 5 headlines, and the way we're getting through them is by timing each other. So we get under a minute to explain the most crucial parts, and then we discuss. You ready, G?
I am ready. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah. Giulia, why don't you kick us off?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, start.
So this one comes from some reporting by our girl Rachel Saslow at Willamette Week, and she's talking about how the St. John's Bar and Punk Rock music venue, the Fixin' 2, is actually turning into an arcade bar this summer. So I'm talking about like more than 30 pinball machines, retro cabinet games, and modern racer games in the back room that's currently being used as a music venue. And this means, and I say this with a really sad heart, but an understanding heart, that the music venue part of the bar will be no more. They'll still have some karaoke and DJ nights, but the space will eventually be completely transformed into an arcade. The owners say that the pivot is a financial decision and that they've been, quote, hanging on for dear life since COVID. They even had the bar for sale briefly before this pivot, but you can catch the shows first week of July. Last shows at that venue. How'd I do?
55 seconds. Not bad.
Okay.
Not bad at all. Yeah, that's so sad. I really love being able to go see a show so close to my home because that's like on the main Lombard Strip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did think of you when I heard this news.
Totally.
Okay, Claudia, it's your turn. You ready?
Yeah. So this one is coming from Sophie Peel at Willamette Week, and it's about Prosper Portland.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, if you're just catching up with the news, Shea Flaherty Benton was asked to resign as the interim director of Prosper Portland by Mayor Keith Wilson after Flaherty Benton publicly went after 2 city councilors, Jamie Dunphy and Mitch Green. Shea Flaherty Benton will receive a severance package totaling nearly $213,000, which is a full year's salary. And this all started last month when both Dunphy and Green proposed taking away Prosper Portland's $11 million general fund, which Dunphy equated to a slush fund. The proposed budget amendment president was ultimately
30
shot
seconds.
down in the marathon city budget session that followed. But the back and forth between the bureau leader and the two city councilors, who, like it or not, were just doing their job, soured Wilson on Prosper Portland's leadership. Done.
Nice. 45. Speedy fast. Yeah. Reading this one, it was one of those stories where once I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, we're not done here. They're going through like direct messages within the groups to try to get a sense of who was saying what. And it starts to get really spicy when that happens.
Yeah, well, a listener actually referred us to Blue Sky back and forth, because I'm not on Blue Sky. I don't know if you're on Blue Sky, but I guess Councilor Jamie Dunphy had basically proposed the idea, aside from proposing it via city council, was just like, yeah, this is why. And it was just a whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And both counselors had previously raised questions and criticisms about Prosper's lack of oversight, because I don't know if you know this, but it's the only city agency that has its own board, budget, and legal team, and it operates independently in a way that no other city bureau does. And so they're just like, why does it need $11 million as a general fund? And this is, of course, when they were trying to find anything and everything to fill the gaps.
Yeah. It's wild. And they're always like taking on kind of strange projects where we're like, okay, well, maybe that'll work. So I can see why those eyebrows are being raised. But
yeah, the threads that you were talking about between Prosper Portland workers did feel like high schoolers talking, like the word hater was spelled with an 8.
I saw that. I was like, oh boy.
Hater's gonna hate with an 8. I just love that Mayor Wilson is just like, we're not doing this. Bye. Out.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta remain professional. It's just, there's no space for it when there's so much on the line and there's just so much tension around making these choices that like, I get it and I respect it.
100%.
Okay. I have another one for you.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
This one comes from some reporting by Joanna Ho at Willamette Week, and they're talking about how now that $1.83 billion Portland Public Schools bond was approved by voters in the special election last month, the school board is deciding which K-12 schools will take priority when it comes to seismic upgrades. So PPS officials described in their first bi-monthly meeting to the school board last week that they will prioritize buildings by assessing and assigning an objective, quote, data-driven seismic risk score. So considering things like the year the building was constructed and, quote, PPS criteria that inform an important score. This criteria includes whether the school is Title I, general enrollment, and which spaces will be impacted by the upgrades. So PPS is also looking for the most cost-effective approaches to the rebuilds, but that, quote, Stormy Shanks, the PPS senior director of the Office of School Modernization, said this internal evaluation will ensure that the project decisions align with both operational realities and district-wide educational goals. So basically, they're just trying to find a nice balance, is what I mean. But there's obviously a lot on the line with this, right? Like, this is years of rebuilding and construction to come for these students, so...
Yeah, I can't imagine that's not going to cause some back and forth between, PTA, the community.
Someone's going to have something to say about the criteria. And I'm speaking about like the one that's more internal and less objective, because they haven't yet so far decided like how much each category will weigh. And I know that folks are going to feel more strongly about one thing versus another. And that makes sense, right? It's their kids, it's their community. This is something that should be thought through in a way that actually really looks out for the kids.
Totally. Well, my next headline comes from Nigel Jaquist at the Oregon Journalism Project / Willamette Weekly. You want to give me a countdown?
Already, 3, 2, 1, go.
Nigel uncovered that almost 4 years after Congress approved a massive disaster relief grant to help Oregonians recover from the destructive 2020 wildfires, more than 90% of that money remains unspent, even as hundreds of families are still waiting for those relief funds. Oregon Housing and Community Services, the state agency administering the federal disaster money, blamed the complexity of the rules around how the money can be distributed for slowing them down, and also their inexperience with doing this type of disaster recovery work at this scale. And if you weren't around in 2020, we saw about 5 megafires ignite in Oregon's most rural areas during Labor Day weekend, which burned more than 850,000 acres and more than 4,000 homes. The smoke made it to Portland, and the air was so toxic, people were advised to wear gas masks outside. As of today, neither Oregon Housing or the state has offered or confirmed solutions.
Time, nice. Right on the dot.
Basically,
God.
Governor Kotek was like, I will not be satisfied until this money's spent. And it's just like nothing with how or what or, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, cool. We're pissed off too. Let's all be pissed off together.
This is a really frustrating one. And so many of those families are still without a home.
I know.
And the thing that frustrated me the most about this story is just the reality that they've continued to have to retell their story over and over and over again to get financial supports, depending on which branch of the organization they're trying to access. And that's like, I think about like how they tell folks you shouldn't set people up in therapy that way. Like fewer the times that they have to, you have to talk through your personal story, the better, the least traumatizing it is. So
agreed.
Yeah.
For those of you who are like, why is it taking so long? Well, like one of the big things about this money, this federal funds, is that it's supposed to be last resort, meaning these people have to exhaust every other avenue. So their insurance, their savings, their everything, like literally every single aspect has to be drained. And so that's why they have to retell their story over and over again, because they have to go to all these different places to essentially be denied until the federal money kicks in. And it's taking way too long. And like, we all know insurance companies don't give a crap, you know, like that's already, they're going to string them along for years just to say no. So it's just, it's awful.
Yeah. I have one more for you.
Let's do it. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
This one comes from some reporting by Lillian Monjo-Hughes and Jamie Goldberg at the Oregonian. And they're talking about how the Oregon Department of Transportation is constructing a permanent wrought iron fence alongside I-405 in Southwest in an attempt to prevent homeless camping near the freeway. And the nearly $900,000 project is in collaboration with the city of Portland. Basically, the state will be covering the construction costs and the city will be covering the ongoing maintenance. And on top of the cost of the project, the city is also using $64,000 for temporary fencing at that site because of the delays with the permanent fencing related to supply chain issues. This type of, quote, hardening project that makes it harder for people to camp in urban areas has been done by the city hall before. For example, they recently installed fencing along Southeast Powell Boulevard near 57th Avenue for the same reason. For this I-405 site specifically, about 22 structures were removed.
Were you done?
Not technically. So just, if I could add just a little bit. Oh my God. If I could add.
Everyone's so bad at this but me. I just need to say it out loud. I'm so good.
I need the people to know. So
sorry. No, go ahead.
At the same site, they did find about 250 needles there when they were removing the structures. And it had been mentioned that there was about 18 young people living there that were there for quite a long time. And that when these reporters spoke to these young folks living at the site, they had mentioned that they thought that the project was a waste of funding, which doesn't surprise me. And I do see the argument there with saying like, hey, why don't you spend almost $1 million getting people into housing? Yeah. Like, oh my God. And I know that's not the only solution. And I know as a city, we have to prioritize making sure people are safe and that roads are maintained and that things are clean. But I don't know. It just seems like a lot of money. Like, why not go for just the temporary fencing?
Not only that, like, I see the other side because I don't know if you've been on the 405 or just any freeway when there's been camping on the sides. But people do, especially when they're on drugs, tend to meander down. It's not safe for them. It's not safe for anyone. But I don't understand why spending that much money when we don't have houses.
Budget, right?
Yeah, like, we don't.
Like our highway maintenance budget is super strained. And it sounds like from the reporting that this is kind of going to be like a one and done, and they may not have the funding to do these kinds of projects moving forward for the foreseeable future. But yeah, it's in motion already. It's already happening.
Wow. Well, thank you, Julie, for playing along. Let's take a quick break here. And when we return, we're digging into our mailbag.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you could bring yours.
All right. Well, this is one of my favorite parts of our roundups is hearing back from our listeners and our readers. So these next couple of notes are actually crowdsourcing inquiries, which I don't know if you know this, Julia, because I don't know if you listen to the show.
I'm sure I'm going to know it, but hit me.
But we sometimes get listeners who kind of use this as a bulletin board. Like, hey, can you ask this question? Because
that's your favorite part from what I've heard.
It is absolutely my favorite part. So Marcia H. says, I just listened to your Portland's Best Cocktail episode, which was, by the way, June 4th, last Wednesday. And I have a plea.
Mm-hmm.
I have been a type 1 diabetic for 57 years and cannot drink any cocktail I know of other than a Bloody Mary because of the carbs. Tomato juice already has substantial carbs. It requires careful insulin dosing, and everything else I know of is much sweeter. If you have another cocktail episode, that almost sounds like a neurological condition, which, funny. Please ask your guests what is available for the likes of me. Where should I start?
Oh,
So,
this is a tough one, listeners.
If any bartenders out there, for sure, Marcia, next time we do a cocktail episode, we will prep whoever's coming in to bring in some diabetic-friendly cocktails. But yeah, I mean, I was stumped. I was like, oh, this is a really good question.
The first thing I thought of was a martini, but that's assuming that Marcia likes basically just straight alcohol.
I know.
And a little bit of brine. It's not really like a fully done up cocktail.
Yeah.
So I can see why that wouldn't be the pick if that's not your drink of choice, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, they are pretty sweet. I think like that's the whole point of a cocktail is that there's a little sugar, there's a little fruit juice, there's a little acid somewhere in there. Yeah. So if anyone has any ideas, we'll pass them along. Here's the other one. This is really great. So Elise R says, hi there. I love your podcast. My kids do too. My son Charlie had a request for an episode for you. He dictated the email, so here you go. Now this is from Charlie. My name is Charlie and I'm 7. By the way, you're 7 years old. I don't know if 7-year-olds should be listening to our podcast, but it's okay. I'm glad you are, Charlie, but I am concerned because we do curse a lot. Okay, I listen to your podcast all the time. I like the bakery episode, but I was wondering if you could make a focaccia bread episode. It's my favorite food, so I was wondering, where's the best spot? My favorite I've tried so far is from Nostrana, but I don't like that they only give you a couple of pieces. Thanks.
That's great.
Listeners out there, where can Charlie find the best focaccia bread in Portland?
Charlie, I have a tip for you.
Ooh.
There is a very fancy grocery store called Providore Fine Foods on Northeast Sandy. And they have some really good focaccia. And I usually make it myself. So this is a spot. I do. This is a Nonna special in my family. We have a focaccia recipe that goes back generations.
Why haven't I had it?
Wow. So if you go to Providore Foods, they have one that's pretty comparable. And they usually have different flavors. They're very tasty. So I would check it out. And you can get really as much as you want. They're not just going to give you a piece. So
that's all.
Yeah.
I am still a little mad that I have never tried your focaccia. I thought we were friends, but that's fine. It's okay.
This is usually the response when people find out, and I don't blame you.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah. So I have one from listener Kip K. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about how our camping episode was good for dispersed camping beginners, but that, quote, to be a steward of the land, the segment should have information about ethical land use and good stewardship, which is very interesting. So things like how to use the bathroom, where to actually set up dispersed camp, etc. Sharing these beautiful resources comes with the responsibility of showing those not just how to access, but how to care for the resource. You shouldn't just drive anywhere on BLM land, in their opinion, even if it's just allowed. And the thing is, too, they also mentioned with the current administration taking care of our public lands, it's more important than ever, which I totally agree. And no one is going to come back and clean up after us. So you have to be responsible when you're out there and not leave trash. So This one really hit home to me. I've been thinking a lot about the state of our parks and the direction we could be moving in because of all these federal funding cuts, especially with the Crater Lake superintendent choosing to step away out of protest. This is a good reminder for everyone.
When I read this, I was like, oh yeah, we should definitely share this. And it's something that we'll definitely keep in mind, Kip. It is something that I think we take for granted. We're just assume that everyone is on the same page as we are. So thanks for writing in. Okay, so this is actually in response to something that somebody else wrote in, another reader. All of this was in response to an opening question I had for a Friday roundup where I asked the guests, like, what fines they would create for things that were annoying to them in Portland, you know? And someone wrote in about how slow drivers camp on the left lane. And so Will H. wrote in response, I almost wrote in about dinguses that camp in the fast lane, and I totally second it. And I would buy a bumper sticker that says, left lanes are for fast boys, which is what the previous listener wrote in, which is hilarious. But since the left lane campers have been covered, the other driving BS that should be fined is when the left turn signal is blinking yellow, you need to pull all the way into the intersection. That way, if the light turns red, you must go. That way, at least one car gets to go per light cycle. And here's the deal.
Yep.
I've said it once. I've said it twice. And now Will H. is backing me up. You guys, I need everyone in Portland to hear me. You have to pull up on the intersection. Because not only is it just providing like one per cycle if for some reason it is like in the middle of, you know, rush hour, but there are people behind you that sometimes don't need to make a left. There are certain like intersections where it's like, that's it. There's no left turning lane, which already is annoying when you don't turn up. So there's people who are like, especially on Greeley. I'm talking to people driving on Greeley here. Pull your ass up. Okay, that's
oh my God. No, this is a funny one that I realized after a while living here because I don't have a car, but I did grow up driving in LA County, and that's just like one of the first things you learn is that you need to do that.
Pull up.
And after hearing folks complaining about it or just seeing people do it, I'm like, wait, what is going on right now? This is insane.
I don't know if people get taught that here or if it's like considered rude or presumptuous, but just presume you're driving well and do it. You know?
Done.
All right.
Okay. I got one more for you.
I'm all heated up. I'm all mad. Charlie, don't listen right now.
Put some focaccia in your ears. This one's from listener Nancy T. And they're saying that they loved our happy hour show, but they wanted to hear more coverage about happy hour places in Northwest. And they had said, my favorite happy hour bar in Northwest is Carina Lounge on Northwest 21st. Goat cheese ravioli with a brown butter sauce and shallots, steak bites with smashed potatoes, no TV, no sports. Great stuff. Really sold me there. Also, the old reliable Joe Bar and Rotisserie owned by Papa Hayden on Northwest 23rd Avenue. So there's a couple for you to start, but we do have plans in the works for at least some more restaurant coverage in Northwest. And I think we can squeeze a little bit of happy hour deals in there too. So definitely stay tuned.
Well, thank you everybody for writing in. If you want to write in, portland@citycast.fm. You can also leave us a voicemail at our hotline, 503-208-5448. That's 503-208-5448.
So before we go, I do have one more thing to share with you. We have a few shout outs from CityCast Portland neighbors. This is a part of our neighbor membership program. And we have 3 shout outs for you today. This first one's from Aaron C. And they want to shout out Frankie Sip Snacks on Rosa Parks, a non-alcoholic bottle shop with a chill space to hang out, chat, and play games.
Well, Rebecca S. wants to shout out Mayfly, a community tap room, and the heart and soul of the Kenton neighborhood. They also added, as they say, be good and have fun. Kieran C. wants to shout out Park Rose Coffee Shop, a newly opened kid-friendly coffee shop east of I-205. Kid-friendly coffee shop. That's I don't know. And just a heads up, if you want to share any of your favorite local business or nonprofits on the pod, become a CityCast Portland neighbor and send us your shout out. We'll read it right here on the pod. You can join at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. Awesome. Well, thank you, Giulia, so much for hanging out with me and going through some of the headlines, going through some of the shout outs, diving into our mailbag. I hope everyone has a good rest of the week. I'll probably check in with everyone on Friday.
Yeah, see you then.
Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.